I don't know if people know this, but I'm educated in game design. I don't know how many times I've said it, probably close to 1,000,000. Super Mario Galaxy is objectively the best game ever made. This video is probably the best video to showcase how great this game is.
This video is sponsored by
Fuck! Damn it!
Space is lonely. When an astronaut is standing on the moon, looking back at the Earth, they are the furthest away from another human being someone could ever be. It's interesting that I consider lonely settings like these so compelling because loneliness is such a suffocating thing, but what I love most is watching them overcome that loneliness somehow and take something from what they endured. With this in mind, when I say Super Mario Galaxy is one of the most beautiful musings on loneliness I have ever experienced, to those that have played the game, it probably makes sense. But in 2007, at a time when the Wii was at the height of its popularity as a casual gaming platform, the game's emotional weight surprised everyone.
When I say the story in Super Mario Galaxy is one of the best stories I've ever, like every time the music comes for Rosalina's storybook time, I actually tear up still to this day. I got Super Mario Galaxy in, I think 2008 when I was 3 years old or something. No, probably a little later. No, 2010 probably. I was like 5 years old when I got this game. And I still play it every single year just to get this nostalgic feeling.
Electricity, the airplane, space travel. Time has shown that feats once thought impossible can be accomplished. And one of those feats was having Mario walk on a sphere. Super Mario Galaxy's initial concept was born from a tech demo for the GameCube, dubbed Super Mario 128. While elements of that demo trickled into other projects, notably Pikmin, one thing that Yoshiaki Koizumi wanted to implement in a Mario game was inspired by the way the environment would take different shapes.
It's crazy to think Yoshiaki Koizumi, the first thing he thinks when they get spheres to work is let's get Mario to space.
Throughout the years, Miyamoto has been widely cited as cryptic, to put it one way. His musings and feedback were often puzzles and riddles that people would have to decipher. During the development of Star Fox, Argonaut Software were stationed in Nintendo's headquarters, and Miyamoto would often come into their office to smoke and talk about seemingly random things. Programmer Dylan Cuthbert.
I love that almost all geniuses in game design are mostly all Japanese, and also they're all fucking crazy. They're all actually like psychologically insane, and that makes them think differently.
The original Legend of Zelda was inspired by exploration of nearby forests and caves when he was a boy in Sonobe, Kyoto, and the dungeons were inspired by feeling lost amid a maze of sliding doors in his childhood home.
Dude, what the fuck is going on in his head? When he's going through forest and what this is what he sees?
As he took on producing and supervising roles for different projects, he began training his employees with that cryptic feedback. Koizumi, being a protege of Miyamoto, is able to pick up on what he's actually trying to say, and often acts as a Miyamoto translator of sorts. While Miyamoto's thoughts may only make sense to him and a select few during game development, his method of delivering feedback and teaching developers is meant to inspire abstract thought, applying meaning to those bizarre statements. Koizumi has taken this to heart, and though he is much clearer than Miyamoto in his messaging, he still aims to give hints rather than straightforward answers. It's why Nintendo's games have maintained a high level of creativity and imagination, and why Super Mario Galaxy in particular.
I think I'm really bad at that. A lot of the times, even though I'm like studying game design, I do the opposite, and instead of leaving stuff up to people's interpretation, I like nitpick everything people try to implement for them to like think about all the problems it can create. But I think that's like a really bad way of going about game design. That's what makes like a great game designer. Like, it's really cliche, but yes and is always the best.
Eventually, Koizumi and his team decided on having Mario wander planetoid environments, setting the game in outer space, as well as throwing an ever-changing gravitational pull into the mix. These gameplay concepts being approved received a mixed response within the team. Some, like designer Koichi Hayashida and producer Takao Shimizu, dreaded the idea of implementing something as complex as jumping between each planet's gravitational pull, as well as finding it hard to wrap their...
It's crazy to think that in 2007, having a sphere or having a gravitational pull is something crazy that no one's thought about before. Or something that's complicated to implement. Now you can just use Unity and it'll do it for you.
As the game reached the debugging stages, however, those that were once skeptical were swayed, with Shimizu stating that he felt like he was playing a game like nothing that had come before it. The pieces were gradually falling into place. The team bounced concepts off of one another, and on the technical side, it seemed like this grand idea for a Mario game was actually going to work. All that was left was to use its setting to the fullest, something beyond what it lends to running and jumping. Space is boundless, vast yet lonely. A great setting for a story, but how could a setting like that fit a Mario game?
How do you actually implement space in a Mario game? Because Mario is supposed to be this simple and straightforward game, but when you think about space, you think about like infinite possibilities and a limited movement set and a limited like linear level design. You wouldn't think it would work in a space environment, right? But they did it in such a good way with the diverse amount of levels and so many mechanics that they implemented into the game, even though you only have like a limited move set. It is so great. I want to also emphasize so when you're making a game, it's always really important to remember to make it easier in the start and harder later. Difficulties are really different from game to game. A Dark Souls game starts off rather hard, but they still increase the difficulty later on because it'll get boring when you get the gist of the game. You always have to start at a much lower level than at the end of the game in terms of difficulty. Like for a Mario game, it's made for children, so they have to set the bar a lot lower, and they know that. They gradually make it harder by introducing more and more mechanics into the game and more ways to change what would normally be in a linear Mario level. So even though it's a really easy game, they still think about this all the time.
Miyamoto himself seemed to be against storytelling in his games, even though his breakout title Donkey Kong was revolutionary in that regard, as a complete story would unfold when players worked through each screen. Really though, he would establish a goal for the player and let the game speak for itself. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. Sometimes a game's design can provide enough emotional fulfillment and feel like a journey in and of itself, even if it lacks the overt methods of telling a story that most have come to expect. It's a method of storytelling intrinsic to games, and something that should be celebrated. But different games call for different methods, and this game in particular needed a little something more than what Miyamoto normally employed. Koizumi felt that Rosalina, as well as her family of Lumas, needed a story.
I'm gonna give another thing that people usually use. There is usually four different types of players when you're thinking of someone that's gonna play your game. You can implement story without putting it in the player's face. Like people that are explorers will love it because they get a sort of feeling of achievement by finding the story, by exploring everything. You can do it by just having it straight up in the game for the killers. It's really important to you. The story is really important to you. And Super Mario Galaxy does it kind of on the side, but it kind of puts it in the player's face.
The game truly was like nothing that came before it, as the team made the impossible possible, both in game design and in the implementation of its storytelling. Super Mario Galaxy begins like most other Mario games, with a pleasant setup going awry thanks to Bowser's schemes. It's only when Kamek sends Mario into the far reaches of space that the game begins to establish itself as something more. When Mario awakens, he is greeted by a pale, star-shaped fellow. As the camera pulls back, we see that Mario is sitting on a lonely little planet, surrounded by the vast nothingness of space. It is then followed by a game of hide-and-seek that accustoms players to the abstract angles and gravity-defying gameplay of the game as a whole, all accompanied by this reverberant melody that echoes the emptiness surrounding you, while also evoking a sense of simplicity and bliss. It isn't overly hopeful or solemn, it's somewhere in between, Much
Yeah.
like the planet Mario finds himself on, you are sitting on the edge, the gateway between your home and the rest of the universe.
The music also kind of makes you feel like lost. It's like a sentiment that keeps getting repeated in the game. You feel like so small with the music and how the planet looks. It's kind of empty. You feel so small.
From there, the game thrusts you into the action, jumping from planet to planet and encountering the core essence of this game's platforming, all set to an epic orchestral piece meant to foreshadow the outstanding impact of the adventures to come. You ascend from that odd feeling of loneliness, being guided by your new friends, and ultimately saving a Grand Star from captivity. The Gateway Galaxy is a fitting name for this place, not just because it serves as your first step into Mario Galaxy's mechanics, but because it exists as this giant leap into the limitless possibilities of space. A comfortable little planet floating near your home becomes the gateway to something grand and exciting, and you step into the terrace and take off towards Good Egg Galaxy. You soar toward that first planet, and as soon as you land, boom!
Boom!
Good Egg Galaxy's music hits you with this triumphant, euphoric opening, followed by a diversely heroic performance that gives several instruments the spotlight. The drums set the stage, the strings guide you in, a magical flute melody follows, and a harp, emblematic of the galactic setting, transitions between bars. Then it crescendos into a wonderfully resonant combination of every individual element that has an astounding emotional payoff every time I hear it. Surely enough, this piece complements the design and gameplay of Good Egg Galaxy perfectly. You start out on this two-sided planet that hosts some secrets of its own, and then launch over to this peanut-shaped planetoid with boulders rolling around, where you have to collect 5 star chips and rebuild the launch star.
This galaxy is the embodiment of the game. You go from planet to planet, all of them different. You don't know you don't know what each of these things are. These rolling balls, you can hit the red part of it and it explodes, but you don't know. It just puts you in there and you gotta figure it out yourself.
Stomping enemies, dodging hazards, all of this variety is but a small taste of the buffet of ideas you're about to experience. But let's reel things in for a second and discuss the fundamentals of why this game is so fun to play. For starters, Mario's movement has been scaled back from the previous 3D games. You still have the triple jump, side flip, long jump, and back flip, but that's it. The only new move this time around is the spin, which was implemented for a few reasons. With the focus on gravity-based platforming across various planetoids, the spin was included to attack enemies when standing next to them, rather than trying to jump on them with an unfamiliar center of gravity.
That's also a really good thing they did, because that's kind of the design problem with having gravity. It's not the most difficult thing, but it is harder to know how to kill the enemy when gravity keeps shifting. You know, when you have to hit them on the head and gravity keeps pulling you or the enemy between the two and you're upside down, and it kind of makes it really inconvenient. Also, it makes it a lot more fun with just platforming and stuff. Even though it's just one component in all of the whole moveset, it's a really important component.
It also acts as a double jump if used in midair, kind of like the midair kick in Mario 64. You can use the spin out of pretty much any of Mario's moves, giving you a little bit of extra height and allowing you to reorient yourself. While Mario's scaled back moveset might seem like a bummer in concept, it actually provides a more focused gameplay experience conducive to the linear level design and structure.
Yes.
Because these planets are so focused on curated experiences rather than open-ended exploration, Mario's limited move pool has very specific applications, and those individual moves can be combined to great effect. In Galaxy, combining moves is not only required to reach certain areas, it can also be paramount to survival in more difficult stages like Melty Molten Galaxy.
This galaxy is the worst thing they've ever made. I think everyone that's played this game knows how much of a pain in the ass. It is so annoying.
The gravity-bending design of Mario Galaxy was the star of the show when it first released. And to this day, it still feels like programming witchcraft when I am able to long jump between the gravitational pull of 2 planets. It feels impossible. It was thought to be impossible during development, but it plays a huge part in platforming across multiple levels, and it's awesome. The way Mario magnetizes to each planet and can walk around its entire surface without it feeling disorienting is also due in part to the intelligent camera system this game employed.
People complain about the camera a lot, but if you really think about it, if the camera wasn't like this, you would be puking every 10 seconds.
The camera often takes on multiple fixed angles that show the player exactly what they need to see. In any given major level in Super Mario Galaxy, you usually have 3 primary stars to collect, 2 Prankster Comet stars, and a secret star. Each of these stars take you through these marvelous, imaginative planets, both themed to the galaxy you're visiting, and based around weird and abstract concepts.
Okay, we just talked about gravity. This is probably the worst level when it comes to showcasing the gravity in the game. I feel like everyone has tried this and it's scary. Walking on these, I think they did it on purpose though. I'm gonna glaze them a little bit. I think they did it on purpose because you're kind of used to the whole you can walk anywhere. This level makes gravity pull in one direction, so these black areas you see, you can't walk there. You kind of just fall off.
These twin planets that you can use a rainbow star to run along, the tricky traps and moving platforms in the delicious Sweet Sweet Galaxy, Freeze Flame's physics-defying ice ring planet that serves as a really fun...
This is the greatest galaxy ever made. The contrast between ice and fire in this galaxy is fucking insane. Like, it seems so simple, but it's so fun.
This secret planet in Beach Bowl Galaxy, which is difficult and memorable in its own right, and this awesome set of apple planets that has a caterpillar running through them, which you can walk on.
I can't emphasize enough the amount of ideas implemented into this game. Like, I have this running joke with every time I see a game or something in a game, I'm like, oh my god, they took it from Super Mario Galaxy. But it's because there are so many different ideas in the game where, like, you basically can't go through another game without having something that's already been made in Super Mario Galaxy.
You won't know where the heck the game is sending you next, or what kind of wacky ideas you'll encounter. Yet the game still manages to build on pretty much every concept introduced. Every single level feels like a brand new awesome idea, or a souped up revisitation of a previous one. Take, for example, the concept of pull stars. You point the Wii Remote at the screen to drag Mario over to one of them, and that's how it starts out. Then you have to collect star chips on this star-shaped planet, which spawn the pull stars required to reach the power star, but there's no direct path to the star. You have to pull Mario one way, then grab another star mid-pull to alter his trajectory. Momentum is a huge part of what makes the pull stars so fun to play with, and they are used in really cool ways across the game. The Rainbow Star power-up I mentioned is built on as well. After using it in a few scenarios to clear out enemies comes my favorite use of the power-up in Sand Spiral Galaxy, which combines the moving platform concept from Sweet Sweet Galaxy with the Rainbow Star. Ideally, you'd want to run along this moving path and reach the star as fast as possible, smashing through mines in the process, but it's not as easy as it sounds, especially as the path gets thinner and your huge jumps become harder to land. But it's so satisfying to get right and a great send-off for the power-up. The lead up to this, by the way, gives players a choice on which power-up they feel most comfortable using, Boo Mario or Bee Mario. Both allow for you to fly around, but Bee Mario has a limit in exchange for more speed and control. On top of that, there are more hazards for Boo Mario to avoid, but less land for Bee Mario to stand on to replenish the flight gauge. It's a cool way to incorporate player choice into two power-ups that are both equally fleshed out.
Each power-up is not like, it's not a power-up. It's a power, but each power-up also has its downsides, which makes it like so interesting to use.
Whether you're swimming in a circle around Sea Slide Galaxy, hopping between those proximity-based platforms in Space Junk Galaxy, or trying your best to navigate the shifting sand without getting squished in Dusty Dune Galaxy, these instances are all unique scenarios, despite having a similar goal, with each level looking and operating nothing like the last. That's a huge reason this game is so much fun to play through. It has so much design cohesion despite bringing an astronomical amount of ideas to the table. The bosses also build on unconscious habits in their own unique ways. Both Dino Piranha and King Caliente teach you to time your spins, which is something that becomes crucial in Mario's movement as we discussed, but also in other boss fights. All 3 of Bowser's fights are timing based, with each of them introducing new attacks and raising the stakes. You line Bowser up with one of the weak points of the planet so that he takes damage from the lava inside, smack him in the tail as he runs around, and then spin into him after you send him flying across the planet on his shell. These fights with Bowser are built on consistently, requiring you to use a habit that is fleshed out throughout the entire game. As well.
but each fight introduces something new, building on the difficulty level as I was talking about.
In both the fights and the levels that precede them, they follow an identical structure to Mario 64's Bowser levels, and appropriately so. They open with an onslaught of creative and challenging platform.
This is the coolest thing ever. Even though it's just platforms you gotta stand on, and the gravity keeps changing, but you have to know where to stand and stuff. It's such a good way to implement the gravity mechanic in the game.
Bowser Jr., on the other hand, does his own thing. His bosses are usually completely out of left field, but memorable in their own right. Mega Leg has its own gravitational pull.
I can't lie, Bowser boss fights are kind of meh. They're like 6 out of 10. Bowser Jr. boss fights in Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are just so fun. Because they're different each time. Bowser is kind of the same thing every time, but they build on it.
I don't think you can successfully convey why Super Mario Galaxy is so incredible by just picking examples from individual segments. Ghostly Galaxy is a highlight due to the sheer variety it features. The first thing you see when you load into the galaxy is Luigi trapped in a mansion. Naturally. The mansion throws Boo Mario into the mix for the first time.
Fun fact, you can't talk to Luigi while you're Boo Mario because he's scared of you.
Then comes the aforementioned race with pull stars, as well as the awesome Bouldergeist fight. But there's also a secret star that takes you to the Matter Splatter Mansion. It is a great example of how to implement an auto-scrolling level in a 3D Mario game, as you have to keep up with the matter as it moves. It's an awesome and inventive concept, and it becomes the basis for the secret Matter Splatter Galaxy later in the
I was going to talk about it. When he was talking about it, I was kind of like, it's not great because this fucking... Again, about power-ups, this, for a lot of people, feels like a power down. It's more of a debuff when you're using the spring power-up rather than a power-up. Yeah, so this level is fucking hard.
Freeze Flame Galaxy also has a staggering amount of variety in its stars, all themed to that name. The first star begins with that ring of ice that teaches the player how to skate,
my favorite
defying
galaxy.
Gravity in the process, but then comes this giant mountain, scalable with the power of the Ice Flower. You use it to skate on bodies of water and stand on these sprinklers, and as you scale the mountain, the platforms become more and more narrow, with less room for error. You can fight Baron Burr, as well as go for the secret star and reach the mountain's peak in an even stricter platforming challenge. In the second star, you're thrust into the galaxy's lava planets, and finally, hot and cold collide as mechanics from both stars intersect, culminating with you ice skating across lava, a concept tested further in a fun race with Cosmic Mario. Freeze Flame has some of my favorite level designs in the game thanks to its strong theming.
When you're a game designer, it's just a perfect 10 out of 10 concept, theme, design of characters and power-ups and different music.
Culminating with you ice skating across lava. Toy Time Galaxy is an absolute delight. You've got a bunch of planets all themed after children's toys like trains and robots. The galaxy plays with gravity in some stellar ways across many of its planets.
This galaxy is kind of annoying with gravity because you can only stand on the green. It kind of removes an element of the game. I don't really like that personally, but...
Deep Dark Galaxy, Melty Molten Galaxy, and Beach Bowl Galaxy all differentiate their main and secret stars. And the one-off galaxies you can unlock all feature either their own original ideas or expanded versions of ideas seen in the main galaxy.
And more importantly, new soundtracks.
Galaxies. It feels impossible for a game to have this much variety, coupled with such a strong focus on fleshing each of these ideas out throughout the game. Battle Rock Galaxy's first star features another take on that auto-scrolling philosophy, and a great one at that. The only terrain you have to traverse are these moving platforms that you can walk around fully. But this also means you are forced into a limited space as it moves, and you have to dodge a multitude of hazards with Mario's moves as they come. The other stars are completely different from one another, but still play into that central theme of storming into a battle station. You've got the innards of the station with split gravitational pulls, breaking into the battle rock with bombs and cannons, taking down the Topman tribe with limited space, and even a secret star that tests your skills on how well you...
Probably the hardest. I know I said the other one was hardest level. This isn't even a level. This is a challenge, side challenge you can do. Probably the hardest challenge you can do in the whole game. If you do it first try, you're a fucking god at the game, I can't lie.
Dreadnought Galaxy actually combines multiple concepts seen in Battle Rock Galaxy into this star right here. With very little room to move, countless hazards and gravity switching all coming together to make breaking into this battleship a heck of a challenge. This is on top of all of its other ideas. Buoy Base Galaxy is another great example of that feeling you get from storming an enemy base, relying extensively on
Okay, this level really... There's just so many problems with this level, because you see these camouflage areas. You can't glide off of it. You can't really interact with those walls. It's really weird. I kind of get why they did it. They don't want people to just fucking jump throughout the whole thing. They want them to go, around the whole area. It's just kind of weird.
After climbing all the way up from the waters below, you'll find yourself on a planetoid in the sky that once unscrewed becomes a Pokeball, with one half being made of water. I don't know how...
Is it a poke? Oh my god, I never noticed it's a Pokeball.
But also the triumphant orchestral score in the background that climbs with you as you ascend to the top of the tower. Such beautiful accompaniment for a level that only features a couple of stars.
Super Mario Galaxy wouldn't be what it is without its orchestra. Like, the decision to do a whole orchestra for the soundtrack is the best decision they made for this game.
All of these levels elevate Super Mario Galaxy from simply being a great Mario game to something more. With all of its recurring ideas getting fleshed out over the course of the game, and a seamless and bafflingly smooth progression in difficulty because of that, this game feels impossibly good. But it does have its problems. Hear me out. According to Koizumi, many of Super Mario Galaxy's ideas were conceived before he had even heard of the Wii, and when he did, the team both rethought existing concepts and implemented new ones. For starters, Mario's spin move went from being activated by spinning the control stick to shaking the Wii remote. Honestly, this felt surprisingly natural considering other key actions were already comfortably allocated to buttons, and I also really enjoyed the game's pointer functionality as well. I had a lot of fun trying to push Mario around in a bubble, applying force on all sides to navigate mazes. I also enjoyed the Pull Star
We might disagree on the whole bubble thing. I can't lie. That was not... That's a hot topic. I think a lot of people didn't like that level, or like that whole design.
Other motion-controlled elements of this game were less enjoyable, particularly when the game solely relied on them for certain power stars, like surfing on a manta ray.
I think it's a really good way. This might be a hot take. I think it was a great implementation for the surf level, because I think they meant to make it really stressful. Like, the music really complements it. Yeah, see? Like, it's really fast. I think it's kind of meant to make you stressed a little bit. I think it's pretty well made, to be honest. I think it's pretty good. There are some things that are frustrating about it, but I think this is one of the best implementations of the Wii controller.
And those rolling ball levels.
See, this is what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to talk about it later.
Both of these ideas just felt unnecessary to me, and they become the basis for 2 of the 3 trials when all 3 green stars are collected. Steering with the Wii Remote, as you could imagine, is not as reliable as an analog stick, especially when the bouncy water physics come into play. I usually slow the heck down on turns by letting go of the A button just to make sure I don't die. The rolling ball levels at least give you the time and room necessary to take wide turns due to its control scheme, but jumping is absolutely horrifying. It's hard to make sharp movements, and I still regard the rolling ball trial galaxy as the worst in the entire game. Though, maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment, but I do still look forward to suffering in these levels.
Exactly.
They're not bad ideas, and they're just as far removed from Mario's core platforming as the pointer-based ideas are. I just think they go overboard in their unnecessary reliance on motion controls.
The thing about the ball mechanic in Super Mario Galaxy is that it's supposed to be really stressful. The music complements it. If you listen to the soundtrack for the rolling ball level, when you're going really slow, it actually becomes even slower, and there are even less. I think there's only a flute. If you go really slow, you can only hear a flute, and it's really slow. The faster you go, the more instruments it implements into the song itself, and it becomes faster and faster because they want it to be really chaotic. Listen, okay, this is a good example. I don't know why this video is here, but listen, the music is really slow, but as soon as you go fast, it becomes faster. Even more instruments come into it. It becomes really 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 stressful. And I just love that part of the game.
Secret stars can be hit or miss to me depending on how good the levels are. If you collect the rest of the 120 stars and then fight Bowser again, you unlock Luigi as a playable character. Okay, first of all, seeing this fade in out of the darkness is hilarious. I'm pretty sure this is what you see when you die. Second, going from this emotional ending to Luigi shouting
Super Luigi Galaxy
is just great. With those problems in mind though, especially the pacing and filler content, you'd have to wonder how a sequel to this game would turn out. Now at the time, that was unprecedented. Nintendo had never released a direct sequel to a 3D Mario game on the same console before. That's why Super Mario Galaxy 2 was a huge surprise. Not just the announcement, but also the staggering level of praise it received as a sequel to one of the greatest games of all time.
Okay, personally, I think Super Mario Galaxy 2 is kind of disappointing. It lives up to the hype of Super Mario Galaxy 1, but I think that it transforms it into something not as... You don't get immersed as much in Super Mario Galaxy 2 as you do in the first one. It's not as coherent as the first game. I think Super Mario Galaxy 1 is a lot better than Super Mario Galaxy 2, but I don't think Super Mario Galaxy 2 is necessarily bad. They fixed a lot of the problems with the first game, particularly with challenges and stuff like that. There's just something, the vibe, I don't know what the proper word is, but the vibe of the first game, you could feel it throughout all levels. In the second one, it doesn't feel as coherent, but let's see what he has to say about the second game.
First of all, the pacing has been completely overhauled. Each galaxy either has 1 or 2 main stars to collect, and then you're moving on to the next galaxy. This means that the onslaught of ideas you face in the original game has been accelerated, and they all feel exciting and fresh. Yoshi, for example, brings new potential to fighting enemies and platforming by himself, but combined with one of his new power-ups, you have Blimp Yoshi, the exhilarating
Okay, the best part about this game is that Yoshi has power-ups.
rushes of high-speed platforming with Dash Yoshi, and the imaginative levels that come about as a result of Bulb Yoshi. The bulb levels take the basic concept of Matter Splatter Galaxy and give the player agency over which parts of the level appear, as long as they make it to another fruit before time runs out. It's a wonderful mechanic. On the whole, Yoshi feels like an extension of Mario himself, just as he was in Super Mario World. Mario himself also has a few new power-ups. You can pick up a drill to solve puzzles and fight bosses, and Rock Mario turns you into a high-speed boulder that won't stop moving for a while, so you'll have to use the walls around you to your advantage and time your jumps perfectly. Cloud Mario might be one of the greatest power-ups in a platformer.
True.
Not only do you jump much further as a result of being practically weightless, but you can also create 3 clouds in midair to stand on wherever you like, and you can replenish those clouds by collecting another cloud flower. No matter how you decide to use it, it's a godsend, and undoubtedly my favorite new feature in this game. Each galaxy is once again distinct, as you'd imagine. The game begins with this grand-sounding orchestral piece as you explore Sky Station, and then immediately cranks up the fun with Yoshi Star Galaxy. You have a constant stream of new ideas, as well as welcome revisitations of old ones. You've got Flip Swap Galaxy's spin and timing-based platforming, Spin Dig's problem-solving, Fluffy
Spin
Bluff's
what?
wonderful introduction of Cloud Mario, Hightail Falls' high-speed platforming, Puzzle Plank's planetoid puzzles creating a picture, Tall Trunk's massive slide, Chompworks' incredible puzzles, Space Storm, Slip Sand, Shiverburn, as well as all of the boss levels, especially Bowser's Galaxy Reactor. This game is so much fun. And it has this jaw-dropping amount of variety as you go through it, even compared to the first game. And keep in mind, the game is moving much faster as you experience all of these cool ideas. There's only so much I can say about this without sounding like a broken record, but I genuinely think right up until the final boss, this could very well be one of the best platformers ever made. It just amplifies that sense of variety and originality the original game had, while also trimming the fat in the process.
Okay, I think the thing I don't like as much about Super Mario Galaxy 2, they focused a lot more on the variety of levels, and as he says, It goes a lot faster in between each level, and understandably so. But it kind of takes the focus away from the story. And I really like the story of the first game. It kind of makes me a little less excited when, the story gets compromised for level variety.
But what is completely different is the reward for completing the game. After beating Bowser's Galaxy Generator for the first time, you're rewarded with World S, containing some oddball galaxies and tough challenges. Basically, World S is meant to cap off an excellent and much more challenging game as you collect the rest of the 120 stars. At the 120 star mark, I was seriously considering this game to be better than the original, and in some ways, it totally is. But there are a couple of reasons why I consider this game, as an overall package, inferior to the original.
Yes! He's agreeing with me! Yes, we agree!
The first reason makes itself apparent when you defeat Bowser a second time after collecting all 120 stars. Yeah, some of you already know what I'm about to say. The entire world map gets showered in green comets, with each level containing 2 or 3 green stars to collect. You won't know where they are when you load in, unless they happen to be in the path of the opening cutscene, but when you're close to one...
Dude, I love green stars. They make me like, oh my god, I just love walking around the level trying to find a green star behind a pillar or something. Yeah.
Usually they'll require out-of-the-box thinking with your moves, and I welcome this. It's why I enjoy collecting them with Luigi thanks to his added jump height. But these short-lived instances of satisfaction don't excuse how monotonously implemented the green stars are. There are 120 green stars to collect, and every time you want to collect one, you have to leave the level, skip through the text, select the star, and wait once again. Then you have to make it slightly further in the level than before, find the star, and wash, rinse, repeat. That time really adds up, and it results in this repetitious slog through levels you've already seen. They serve a similar purpose to the Comet Medal if you missed them on your first playthrough of a level, as you essentially have to play the entire level again just to make sure you grab it that time, except that feeling has been repeated 120 times. The green stars grind the game's magnificent pacing to a screeching halt, and it's a shame. Admittedly, I love the reward for finding all of them, Grandmaster Galaxy. It's this relentless series of platforming challenges with elements from across the...
Dude, this is... I don't think I've reached it. I've just watched people play it. It's incredibly difficult.
Entire game, and if you manage to complete it with the Comet Medal collected, you
this one, where you have 1 health.
Have to then finish the level again without taking a single hit, and without any checkpoints to fall back on.
Oh yeah, true.
To me, this challenge wasn't worth the tedium, but it did at least prove that I had mastered Mario Galaxy. This brings me to my second reason why I don't like this game as much as the original. I feel this game lacks the emotional weight that the original game had with its story. The story that Koizumi believed in so much and snuck past Miyamoto was essential. Of course, Galaxy 2 does carry a lot of weight in its levels and atmosphere, but it doesn't have a narrative that recontextualizes your entire journey like the original game did. We need to step back for a second and talk about this. Super Mario Galaxy wasn't just groundbreaking for its inspired game design. It felt like something more, because those moments of emotional resonance were accompanied by Rosalina's storybook, and the game's surprisingly profound and heartfelt conclusion. Koizumi felt that these elements were extremely important to Rosalina, but I also think he felt they were necessary for the game as a whole.
With different ideas and stuff.
Point during the game, you'll be able to hear Rosalina read a story to the Lumas, and you'll unlock more chapters as you collect Power Stars. Normally, I don't like summarizing story elements in these videos, but I sincerely think we need to read through this one. So, if you've heard it before, how about we go through it one more time?
The story tears me up every time. I don't want to cry on stream.
The story begins with a girl finding a lost Luma in a rusty spaceship. The Luma is waiting for its mama to arrive on a comet, and the girl agrees to wait with the Luma. Eventually, she grows tired of waiting, and they take it upon themselves to search for the Luma's mother. While they don't end up finding her, they do form a close bond and share some star bits, which apparently taste like honey. One night, the girl has a dream about her own mother, who appears to be leaving. Her mother tells her that she'll always be there, watching over her. But when the girl wakes from her dream, she cries in lieu of never being able to see her mother again. Despite this, she can't bear to see the Luma crying too. The girl builds a massive house for her and the Luma to live, much too big for just the two of them, but soon after, a group of Lumas make their way over to her and call her Mama. Amused, she decides to take them all in without hesitation. After seeing her 100th comet, she begins wondering if her home planet is still as blue as it once was. She peers through her father's telescope and remarks that, though it feels so far away, it still feels close. She spots a terrace with a familiar tree and a bed of flowers. She had memories of spending time with her family there, but when she recalls the time she spent with her mother, she bursts into tears, longing to see her mother once more. She knows in her heart that her mother's not out there because she's sleeping under the tree on that hill. The Luma attempts to cheer her up by transforming into a comet that could carry everyone across the stars. The Lumas tell her that their destiny is to become many different things, and that it's a part of who they are to do that someday. The Lumas all rally together to bring the girl's tears to an end, and from that day forward she assumes the role her mother once had by taking care of the Lumas. And when they're ready to leave the nest, she'll see them off with a smile. As the game ends and Bowser's plans fall apart, one of the galaxy's planets collapses into a black hole.
Dude, it's such a sad story.
Pulling in everything in its vicinity. To stop this, the Luma you've traveled the entire game with jumps into the black hole, along with every other Luma nearby. The black hole turns into a singularity.
Dude, this is the weirdest. It feels like you're on I can't imagine being on shrooms and watching this. Shout out to anyone taking shrooms.
Though Rosalina's mother may be gone, and Rosalina may have been on her own, the time she spent with her, as well as the effect her mother had, both live on as she navigates her own life and creates her own family. Eventually, the cycle of life continues, as she finds herself in that same position her mother was once in, carrying the essence of that person she loved. Though you may be far away from the place you called home, you can always make your own home and your own family through the people closest to you. To me, Super Mario Galaxy is a story about how we can overcome that loneliness as we leave the nest, and it is immensely reassuring to hear that no matter what happens, and if we ever feel isolated, we will eventually find our place in the world. This story recontextualizes so many key moments throughout the game. The Gateway Galaxy may seem like nothing more than a cool atmospheric introduction to the essence of Super Mario Galaxy, but it soon reveals itself to be one of the game's strongest symbols. That feeling of being in the middle of nowhere is quickly overcome by intrigue and fun. Things just keep getting more enjoyable until you finally reach the apex of that joy with Gusty Garden Galaxy. This level embodies the spirit of the game perfectly. Once again, its missions and major planets feel completely different from one another. Super Mario Galaxy is capable of evoking many emotions, but in spite of the diverse sights and sounds of space and that suffocating loneliness I've described, Gusty Garden is one of the most inviting and beautiful levels I think a game set in space could ever have. It is representative of the balance this game strikes in its fantastic levels, a manifestation of overcoming that loneliness. From here, it's just you and the beauty of the planets beyond.
Cinema! Absolute cinema.
After Super Mario Galaxy was released, Miyamoto caught Koizumi outside the office, and the two of them had a long talk. Miyamoto likened the discussion to a couple having a heart-to-heart for the first time in years, after the kids had finally grown up and left the house. In talking to him, Miyamoto realized that it wasn't whether or not Mario should have a story that mattered to him most, it was whether or not a game...
What number is that?
It was whether or not a game resonates with the player. Therefore, I believe Galaxy 2's focus on engaging gameplay above all else, trimming the fat and accomplishing a feeling of resonance through ingenious game design, was a result of them wanting it to feel distinct, and not like a retread of what the original game accomplished. Galaxy 2's renewed focus, though welcome and phenomenal in its own right, is an admission that the original game was impossible to replicate.
It really is impossible to replicate. Like, that you don't want to make a game that's just an echo of a game you've already made. You want it to feel distinct. I don't think they could make a game with such an emotional impact as the first game, or even hope to come close to it.
With Koizumi at the helm challenging preconceived notions, the game features an impossible story in an impossible setting, and accomplishes several unprecedented feats in game design and storytelling for a Mario game. It is a masterpiece. I think this game, the story of its development, and the legacy it left behind all show that even when faced with the impossible, in a universe as vast as ours, you can always leave an impact.
Damn, what a great video. I highly encourage anyone to watch the original, or the video itself by Liam Triforce. I don't think I could make anything that's close to how good this is.